Okay, let's really unpack this exact moment.
Right.
Because I think you know it well.
Mm,
The last sharp word has just been said. Maybe you said it, maybe it was said to you, and then
yeah.
this quiet.
This humming stillness.
Yes. And it's not a peaceful quiet, is it? It's not calm. It's raw.
Yeah.
It's this trembling silence of the aftermath, like the whole world is just holding its breath.
And that intense quiet, it's not an ending, it's not an absence, it's actually a profound opening.
An opening.
It's a classic Zen paradox, really. This is precisely where everything necessary can begin. You know, we think of silence as empty, but it's not. It's fertile ground.
But that's the central dilemma, isn't it? Our whole system, our whole body just screams at us to flee that feeling.
It does.
We see that stillness as dangerous, as this void that has to be filled immediately. So what do? We armor up, we start churning out these stories in our head. I was right, or they completely misunderstood me.
We become a factory of justification.
Exactly. And in all that noise, we walk right past the doorway the silence just opened for us.
We miss the entire landscape. It's like, it helps to imagine dropping a stone into a perfectly still pond. The first thing you get is chaos, right? Ripples everywhere, and if you try to smooth the water with a stick, you just churn up all the mud from the bottom.
Right. You make it worse.
You make it worse. But if you wait, if you just allow it, the surface slowly, on its own, stills. And when it does, it becomes remarkably clear. Clear enough to reflect the sky. Clear enough to reflect your own face.
Wow.
That silence after an argument is that pond. It's offering us a chance to actually see. And what's really fascinating here is this paradox of protecting ourselves. The more we dig in, the more we, cling to being right. The more we actually lose touch with the quiet truth underneath all that noise.
And what is that truth, usually?
Well, if we're really honest, it's rarely malice. It's vulnerability, it's hurt, it's fear. And the deepest insight is that the person you were just arguing with, they're likely feeling that exact same pain, just, in a different flavor.
But that feels so hard to do in the moment. Because if you stop defending yourself, aren't you just giving in, sacrificing your own sense of self?
That is the essential question.
Yeah.
And it requires a different kind of effort. Not the effort of action, but the effort of attention.
Okay.
The argument is about what happened, but the path of silence is about what is happening inside me right now. And this is where we can talk about the idea of a koan.
A koan. We hear that term a lot in Zen. It sounds profound, but sometimes a little abstract. How can silence itself be a koan?
Well, a koan is just a question that's designed to break your logical mind, to get you past the thinking. The famous one is, what is the sound of one hand clapping?
Right. You can't think your way to that answer.
You can't. You have to experience it. The silence after a fight is a koan happening in real time. The question isn't who won. The question is, can you simply be present with this raw, vibrating, unresolved moment?
Just be here.
Just be here, not to fix it, not to run from it.
That's the deceptive simplicity of it all, isn't it? Because if I'm sitting there and my body's just buzzing with adrenaline, I mean, you could feel it physically. How do you practically begin to just be here?
Let's use another image. Think of a bamboo grove right after a heavy rain.
Okay.
Water is dripping from the leaves, but it's slow, it's deliberate. Each drop falls with a kind of completeness. It's not in a hurry. Your thoughts are going to be just like that rain. Defense, blame, replaying the scene. The practice is to let them fall. Don't grab them, just let them arise and pass. There's a classic story that gets at this. A student comes to a master, totally agitated, saying his mind won't stop replaying an argument. The master just pours him some tea, fills the cup to the brim, and then just keeps pouring.
So the tea is overflowing everywhere.
Everywhere. And finally the student shouts, "Master, the cup is full. Nothing more can get in."
And the master's reply is the whole point.
Yes, he says, exactly. And so is your mind. How can any wisdom enter if there is no space?
So the invitation of the silence is to just stop pouring.
Stop pouring. You don't have to force the thoughts out. You just stop adding more. And in that stillness, something shifts. The hard boundary between me and them starts to soften, and clarity emerges. Not logic, just presence. The storm didn't destroy the garden, it just watered it.
Which brings us to, I think, the main battleground for most of us, the internal rehearsal.
The quiet theater of the mind.
Yes. The external sound stops, but the real fight just moves inside. You're the director, the playwright, the star, rewriting scenes, polishing comebacks for a conversation that probably never going to happen.
We call it the monkey mind. Just chattering, swinging from branch to branch, endlessly rehearsing its own suffering.
But why? Why do we do that?
We have to understand, the monkey isn't malicious, it's just scared. It's trying to build a fortress of thoughts to protect the ego from feeling hurt or weak. But that fortress, well, it's a prison. It keeps you trapped. So to get out of that theater, we can ask a different kind of koan, a mirror koan.
Okay.
The question is, what did your face look like before your parents were born?
Wow. That's a big question. What is that doing?
It's not asking you to forget what happened. It's asking you to find a context that's bigger than the injury. It invites you to step out of the temporary costume of the one who was wronged. Before this fight, before all your labels, who were you?
And if you can do that, if you can step out of the drama, what's left? What replaces it?
The miracle of the everyday.
The everyday.
The slight loosening that happens when you're not forcing the story anymore. You know, your hand might feel the warmth of your coffee mug, or you suddenly hear a bird outside. The Zen master Dogen said, "To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by the 10,000 things."
Actualized by the 10,000 things. So those small, simple realities, they're not distractions from the pain.
They are doorways back to life. There's a lovely parable about a woman fuming on a park bench, just lost in her fortress of thought. And then she sees this little kid, totally absorbed. The kid isn't looking at anything grand. He's watching an ant trying to carry a crumb, like 10 times its own size. And the woman just gets lost in it too. In the sheer, simple effort of this tiny ant, she's just witnessing.
Without needing to fix it or judge it.
Exactly. And that is the doorway out of the mental theater. Which leads us to this other paradox, the paradox of discomfort itself.
Tell me.
The more you try to escape the feeling, the adrenaline, the hurt, the more trapped you become. But the more you can just stay with it without fighting it, the more it starts to transform.
So it's about intimacy with your own experience.
Yes. And when you sit with that raw feeling of hurt, you often discover its real name isn't anger, it's longing, or it's love that just got tangled up.
So we don't need to stop the thoughts. We just need to change our relationship to them. That's like,
Yeah.
the thoughts are just leaves on a stream. The practice is remembering you're not the leaf, you're the stream.
You are the stream, exactly. And this shift from defending to witnessing, this is the quiet alchemy. This is observation. And observation, in this sense, isn't analysis. It's a form of love.
Love.
Bare, unadorned, without an agenda. When you can observe your own messy thoughts without needing to fix them, you're returning to yourself. You're saying, I am here, even with this.
That feels like a radical form of compassion. But where's the agency in that? How do you keep it from just becoming passive?
The agency is in the stillness. Imagine you're in a room of mirrors after a fight. All you see are distorted reflections, magnified anger, exaggerated shame.
Right.
The Zen path is to walk to the center of the room and just stop moving. The reflections don't disappear, but they lose their power because you stop believing they're the whole truth. It's like two rivers meeting. One is turbulent and muddy from the conflict. The other is your own deeper intention, which is clear. Where they meet, at first it's just chaos. You can't separate them. But if you wait, the waters find a new rhythm, a new relationship forms, shaped by the truth of what happened, but not defined by it.
So we stop asking who was right,
Yes.
and we start asking what is true right now in me.
That is the shift. Because the reconciliation doesn't start when they apologize. It starts inside you. There's a story of a Zen student who had a terrible argument with his teacher. He was so ashamed he couldn't even enter the meditation hall. He just sat outside.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher eventually came out and just sat next to him, silently, for hours. Finally, the student couldn't take it anymore and asked, "Why are you here, master?" And the teacher just said, "Because you are."
Wow.
That is presence. That is the deepest form of reconciliation.
Presence is reconciliation.
It is, because when you can observe your own hurt without flinching, you start to recognize that same fear-born hurt in others, their defensiveness. It's also born of fear. The boundary softens. Not because you've decided to forgive them, but because you've returned to your own humanity. And in doing that, you have touched theirs. And this is the quiet revolution. The ordinary is not the opposite of the sacred. It is the sacred just disguised as ordinary. It's waiting for us in the steam from a cup of tea, the sound of our own heartbeat.
Which brings us back to those questions that are just breathing into silence, you know? What if this rupture isn't a failure, but a threshold?
Yes.
What if being misunderstood is just an invitation to listen more deeply, first to yourself?
First to yourself. So the final invitation is just this. Sit in the silence, let it hum, don't rush to fill it, don't explain it, just be with it. And in that being, without any effort in the space between one breath and the next, you might just find what you were never actually missing, forgetting.